Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you to the second episode of a podcast, Transformation of a Professional of Law and Finance. My name is Sophie Le Calvez. I am a consultant in transformation, organization, change management, and strategy for the professional of law and finance. I'm a lawyer, and I have a postgraduate diploma in French business law and Anglo-American law, and I've more than 20 years of experience in different companies. I was an international tax director, and today I'm an entrepreneur, and I founded the firm avhs.co. What is this company? It's a consulting, facilitation, training, and coaching firm with objective to optimize your performance, change your habits internally, and achieve your objective. I interview legal and finance professionals from all backgrounds who share their experience, their career path, their vision. They tell you without filter how they manage to overcome difficulties in their team and organization and take on challenges. Personal stories shared in a climate of kindness and trust. Today, I welcome Dan Ostien, who accepted my invitation, and it's a great pleasure for me to interview him. Hello, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good to talk to you, Sophie.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having accepted my invitation. Dan, can you introduce yourself and share your career path with us in a few minutes?
Sure. People have, for everybody that I work with and have worked with, generally look at me as a corporate tax professional. Worked in the United States my entire career, but I've worked in international environments, global companies, both those that are headquartered in the U.S. and those outside the U.S. My career started with KPMG, and that was several decades ago. I learned a great base in corporate income tax at KPMG. I moved on from KPMG to work in several different public companies, that is SEC filing companies, again, global, generally global international companies. My education prior to going to KPMG included a degree at Drexel University in finance and accounting. And I also received a Master of Taxation at Villanova Law School. And I've used my early learned experiences from university and law school throughout my career. Also in my career in managing corporate tax functions, I've worked in treasury roles and risk management roles.
Okay. And currently, for which company are you working with?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Currently, I am the Vice President of Taxation with Tekni-Plex Inc. It is a U.S. headquartered company. Tekni-Plex is known for its consumer product group of packaging, generally in the fresh foods areas. And also, we have a very large business unit of healthcare products in tubings and other drug deliveries.
Yeah. And then you have been working in different kinds of industries. We met each other in Cephalon, that was a biotech group. And you have so many big experience. So
Yeah.
it can inspire a lot of people. So it's great to share this interview with you.
Thank you.
So
Corporate. Yeah, we'll talk. I just want to say, it's corporate tax, treasury. Um, they are finance law based occupations, but they do cross all industries. So I've had the fortunate um, opportunity to work in pharmaceutical, manufacturing, and technology over my decades of work. Yep.
yeah, nice. So during all your professional career, what have been your greatest difficulties and or challenges, from a managerial or organizational point of view?
Sure. You know, I'm going to stay in the corporate world. I think public accounting, it's been decades and decades since I've worked in public accounting. I'll talk later about working with public accounting firms. But on the corporate side, you know, the term is always used as teams. And I think they're good. I think that's a well-defined term of what corporate tax functions that I have managed are like. We're a team. But with teams, you do have your challenges. So as a leader, I'm generally expected to mentor, to manage folks. But the challenges arise when you have to we manage by project, right? We manage to financial measures. And I think as a corporate tax leader, um, the challenge I find most is really a daily challenge, and that is taking our team and understanding roles, responsibilities, experiences amongst the teams, assigning folks to projects, managing and mentoring them. These are all terms that are, you know, kind of general, but it really is a daily challenge. Um, I've had, for example, times where I've assigned what you would expect to be to an experienced person a certain project, and you quickly find out that the individual is not meeting the expectation. My challenge is, how do I help them? How do I manage them? How do I mentor them to get through? Um, Over the years, these kind of examples have led to many successes, and people learn. People learn from you, from your mentoring, from your managing. People learn from their successes, learn from their mistakes. But the other challenge that you have is sometimes they don't. And in life, in the corporate life of whether it's a corporate tax function, a finance function, a law function, those decisions that you have to not promote someone, or maybe someone needs to, you know, take on a new role when they're just not meeting. I think they're part of the challenges and difficulties that we have. But again, the successes far outweigh those challenges. So that's yeah.
Yes. So I understand test and learn is really important, but you're right. When somebody is not promoted, it's really a difficulty and a challenge. And in the same time, the teams must understand why, the reason why. So in terms of communication, which kind of tips can you provide in terms of communication when you have such a difficulty or challenge?
It's a really great question. Um, you know, making sure expectation, making sure you are fully communicating to your team, and it starts with the whether it's an objective that's set on an annual basis or it's set in the beginning of a project. You need to be really clear in what you're expecting from that individual. It's also being fair. You know, leaders aren't great leaders if they're not leading. And the best way to lead is, you know, set out the project plan, set out in communicating this to the individuals, making sure they have the tools necessary to get things done. But it's not just a one and done. It's a constant review, meeting, how we doing, you know, whether it's a weekly meeting, a bi-weekly meeting, just constant staying with that individual, communicating to that individual. When you see them slipping, you know, make sure that they know what they need to do to get out of that slip. But it's basic communication. You know, we have a lot of remote working now, but we have these virtual tools that have really enabled us to keep in touch with folks. And I can't say it enough. Effective communication, making sure they have the right tools in front of them, and helping them when they need the help.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Another question for you. How did you become the manager and leader you are today?
This is an interesting question to reflect on because, in my decades, I am where I am today. But boy, if I look back 30 years ago, I was in that team. I was on the team. I was being managed by someone like myself. And I think you become a manager and a leader from good leaders and from good managers, i.e., from mentors. You build on your successes, but you learn from your failures. I reflected back when I looked at, thinking about this question. I reflected back when I first learned this one technical area in corporate tax. I'm not going to go into the technical area, but I struggled, and I just had the most patient leader, boss, who just constantly worked with me till that light bulb went off. And you take that, and then 4 years later, I find myself on the other side of the table with someone who I once was, and that's what you reflect on. I know it's a common used word, but you have to build on your successes and learn from your failures, and they can be your own. I also had great mentors in my career. I worked in a corporate tax area, but I might have had a mentor who was a partner in a public accounting firm. I leaned on them. I listened to them. I called them up with questions about how do I handle a certain situation. Um, that's how one learns, and confidence is learned both by successes and failures. Don't be afraid to fail. The greatest developers and entrepreneurs and people who have invented the greatest, inventions in the world failed. They had to fail. So you can't be afraid to fail. I think that makes you a person who can manage and lead as long as you have that experience.
On my side, I would say it's okay to be afraid. Now, you should go ahead. Don't be stopped because you're afraid or you're scared. This emotion give you a piece of a puzzle and must push you to go outside your comfort zone. What do you think?
Oh, I'm going to reflect on it on an actual two times. Two times I've had this experience, and it's what I consider to be, a great success that I was able to have. And I don't mean that in a big pat on the back, but I had a really strong, technically strong person who was my direct report, who had all the experience they needed to really step into a role that I had, even assume my role. But their confidence kept them from advancing into decision making. You must be a decision maker to be that corporate leader, and you must help people make decisions. I was able to work with this individual to make sure they understood that failure didn't mean this disastrous answer. It really, failure is probably the wrong word. It's make a decision, and we will together work on making sure it's the right decision. But you have to try. And, that comes in our world of doing research and knowing what financial metrics you're working with and coming to a conclusion. And then it's delivering that conclusion. And you working with people, and in order to deliver that conclusion, you reflect back on all those basics of understanding the technical, done the research, know the business, and know the financial metrics. But some folks may not feel like they they are as confident as they need. So you got to build their confidence.
Yeah.
You got to help them get across that goal line.
Mm.
And by the way, that individual ultimately took my job. So, yep.
Yeah. And did you get external support or not when you were in difficulties or challenges?
Oh, 100%. You know, we draw on external support in our world, and I think this crosses all finance, law type world. You know, whether you're talking the basics, we have this research pool out there. Now we have AI, and we have our all of our historic tax research access, accounting. You know, you have your different standards that are out there. You need to make sure that you have access to that. I have in my many different roles worked with big four firms, regional firms, boutique firms, firms that are specialized in an area. Say that, you know, we want to pursue a certain acquisition. We'll reach out to a certain consultant practice that is, you know, very specialized in M&A, as we say, mergers and acquisitions. And then you have your basic technical compliance firms. I'm going to use a term that my boss from my late 90s used: horses for courses. You never have to rely on one third party resource, but you have to understand what horse that what course that horse is trained to run, and then you seek that kind of horse. So that was always, and I overused that expression, by the way, but different firms come with you know, different strengths and weaknesses, and we have to know what they are. And I would not be where I am without the support of third party firms, the right research, and making your teams have that same access.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. How did you transform the departments in which you have been working with?
So you know me a little bit. So you're giving the maybe the audience. Um, I have always sought roles. And by the way, you know, my experience has been working for several publicly held companies. But that experience came also with buying other companies and also being sold. And I think that those activities themselves are learned experiences. You can be a large pharmaceutical company like you and I used to work at with, right?
Yeah.
And we would buy companies and we would learn, and we would buy companies and we would learn. Well, you know, ultimately we got bought, and we learned from that experience too, right? So when we talk about, you know, our successes, we think about the experiences that we have. Um, and what came of that is you talk about transforming departments. You know, I had a 3-person department and I've had a 14-person department.
Mm-hmm.
When I look into those roles, for example, the company that you and I worked on, right? We were an expanding company. We started at one size and we just grew and grew and grew through acquisition. I needed to identify where the needs were and equip our teams with people that were had some knowledge and experience, but were also willing to new processes, new technologies. Um, Work life wasn't easy, isn't easy. People that knew that it may not be a 40-hour week, it could be a 60-hour week for a while. So I don't know that there's one answer to transforming departments.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's making sure that you're matching the needs of the company to individuals that are going to accept those challenges, but also grow and improve and better the company. And that usually comes with hard work, people that are willing to learn new things, and people that are willing to you know, work that extra time, and then enjoy the benefits of all that too. Get paid well.
Yes. Yes. Enjoy and have fun. I
That's right.
remember when we worked together, you told me several times, have fun. And I think
Yeah.
it's key. It's key. Vision is really important also for me. You mentioned match needs companies with individuals to grow, improve, and at the same time to have the same vision. It's really important um, to have a trustworthy relationship, and you have this talent then to also to build this trustworthy relationship with people. So I think it's crucial. What do you think?
Oh, I think it um, uh, we're in a very technical. I am in a very technical space, um, but it is fun because you're in a business environment as well. I find it fun uh, that I can teach or educate or communicate to a non-technical person what it is that we're doing. So we have to have that grounded understanding of what we do, but we also have to explain it in a way that a non-technical person will understand it.
Yeah.
Um, Usually, corporate tax functions aren't making business decisions, but usually, people that are making business decisions are doing it with their knowledge of, is there a tax impact? So I have to know both. I got to know the tax impact, and I got to know the business that's making the decision. And in that, that's fun. Learning is fun. I think it's fun. And then applying one's technical and experiences and successes to sharing that with others is it's rewarding. Maybe fun is rewarding. Yeah.
Mm. What is your vision of inspiring management and leadership?
Good question. You know, I I I feel that the word respect comes to mind when I think about this question. Um, Management, particularly in the C-suite, kind of historically had that view that folks sat in these high-level offices and made decisions, and while the rest of us just did our grind. That is completely different than the reality. The reality is that if you want to be an inspiring manager, an inspiring leader, you need to share your experiences with your teams, with others in the business. You need to do it in a way in which folks understand what you're doing. And when a business leader looks at someone that's maybe in a law or finance area and sees that all of their hard work and all of their experiences are going to go to improve the business, that's inspiring. That's it. And your team sees that. Your team sees when you deliver something to the bottom line, when you deliver something to a business leader that was maybe going to be a bad answer and you make it a better answer, or they didn't even know there was a good answer and you introduce that good answer.
Mm.
I think we need to inspire people that what we do uh, improves business, improves. I'm going to use a finance term, but that we're improving the bottom line, whether it's the income or the cash, and that makes it fun, but it also gives you that confidence that you too can be a leader, you too can be a manager.
Yeah, thanks. So we are at the end of this interview. So I would like to thank you, Dan, for your time, for your presence, your trust, and your inspiring sharing. So if you like this podcast, please feel free to share it. It's free. So help me to spread the transformation of law and finance professionals wherever you are. Thank you so much, Dan, for your time again, and talk to you soon. Thank you.
Sophie, thank you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing and being able to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.